This is the Minds.com content policy for Minds.com and their terms of service. We start out with the immediate ban offense. Users will be immediately banned for certain violations of the content policy. Users will be notified about the ban and which term was violated, but they will not be able to see the content that was in violation, as it will have to be removed from Minds. Appeals on immediate bans will be removed by the Minds admins and not a jury due to the nature of the content. Oh, so they have a jury, and the jury doesn't review this content because apparently it's so bad that it can't be reviewed, and it must be acted upon in an authoritarian fashion, because that's the best way to deal with highly objectionable content. Well, that's interesting. I wonder where the thinking comes in that. Number one, immediate ban offense is illegal. What does that mean, illegal? You're talking about something, you did something. What does this mean specifically? Well, let's look at the parenthetical. Number one, terrorism. So are we not able to talk about 9/11? 9/11 conspiracy theories? Are they able to articulate what specifically is violation of terms of service? What does this mean, illegal? I mean, that doesn't even say, like, what did you do on Minds.com? Illegal. Terrorism. Number two, pedophilia. Pedophilia. So what? Sexual attraction to children. So what does that mean? If you're sexually attracted to children, you're not allowed to post on Minds.com? Or if you tell people over Minds.com that you're sexually attracted to children, or if you talk about other people being sexually attracted to children, or anything related to that. This doesn't make any sense at all. Sexual attraction to children is not illegal. Sexual attraction to children is a sexual attraction. There are many different types of sexual attractions. You could be sexually attracted to, I don't know, the moon, or a building, or a race car, or you could be a homosexual and be attracted to men. There are all different kinds of sexual attractions, and whether they're prevalent and widespread or extremely rare doesn't really matter. But it doesn't make them illegal. It just makes them less common. And so this is not something that's illegal. So I don't really understand here. Now we're talking about something that is labeled as illegal, is not really illegal, and cannot be reviewed by a jury. So that means that if you start talking about research, scientific data, sexual relations between children and adults, what constitutes child, what constitutes adult, and what about that in-between space between when you started puberty, let's say between the ages of 8 and 14 for girls, which is the pubescent years. And what constitutes adult? Is an adult somebody who has completed puberty, a 14-year-old girl? Or is it an 18-year-old girl? Or is it a 21-year-old girl? What constitutes adult? Well, you can't talk about these things on Minds.com. You see, because once you start talking about those things, then it becomes a definition of, you're talking about pedophilia. And that's supposed to be, according to Minds.com, illegal. And since you're talking about something that's illegal, then you can't even have them discuss about it on their jury. They're so paranoid about this particular topic that they can't talk about it in a jury. They have to go through authoritarianism to make sure that it's banned. This is the thought police in full effect. And this is so widespread that you can't talk about this anywhere. You can't talk about it on Reddit. If you say on Reddit, you say childhood sexuality, you can get banned. If we're talking, saying childhood sexuality, children are sexual, that's it, banned. Immediately banned from Reddit. It happened to me. Of course, you can Google those terms and find that there's a Wikipedia page for childhood sexuality, but you can't use those terms on Reddit because people are so terrified of that idea. It's such a terrifying thing for people to even think about, that it's just shut out of mind, that they can't even think rationally about it. And that's why it's labeled up here in this illegal category, because they're so scared about it that they think it's illegal. Well, guess what? Sexual attraction is never illegal. You know, like I said, sexually attracted to the moon or an automobile or anything, a snail. There's 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 no law that prohibits sexual attraction. Now there are a lot of funny laws, a lot of strange laws, like laws that prevent sexual relations between children and adults, where they redefine child and they redefine adult using arbitrary ages that are made up not by biology but legislators. And based on what? Based on political pressure. And they make exception to these laws for Christian values, such as if you're married, right? So if you're married and you're considered to be a child, you can have all the sex you want with your spouse, but you can't have sex with somebody else. Let's see, if you're a child and you're not married and you have sex with an adult, well, if you rape them, then you can be tried as an adult, so you can be indemnified as committing an act as an adult. But if you decide that you consensually want to engage in a sexual relationship with a legal adult as a minor, then the adult is potentially going to be on the hook for serious felonies, resulting in jail time much, much longer than people who commit murder and take the lives of others, right? So you're a 13-year-old girl, you have sex with somebody who is outside of the particular age, or maybe even within the age, depending on which state it is. That person can go to jail, prison, 20 years. But we can't even talk about these things. We can't even have these discussions. And the reason we can't have these discussions is the widespread, extreme fear. People are so terrified to talk about these things. They're so terrified to talk about these things that they will project their fear onto the people who engage in them and sentence them to ruin their lives for 20 plus years or whatever, much longer than a murderer would get. Right? Like if you took an axe and you chopped somebody up and you said, hey, I was insane, I was aggravated, whatever, you might get aggravated manslaughter and be out in a much shorter period of time for taking somebody's life. But for having a voluntary, consensual, and mutually beneficial, wanted and enjoyed act, for even so much as considering that the possibility for such things exists outside of the Christian value of marriage, you can get banned. You can't talk about it. You can't say, yeah, there's a possibility that outside of marriage, there's a possibility that touching a child's buttocks is okay when it's not spanking. Because currently the laws will say that you can touch a child's buttocks if the goal is to inflict pain for punishment, right? So physical abuse of children is perfectly legal and accepted by the law, and that's fine. But if you do so in a gentle and loving manner, and it's mutually wanted and enjoyed in everybody, right? That is considered a sexual act, and they have to go after you for it. But you can't even talk about these things. You can't even talk about these things. You can't even have a scientific, intellectual, ethical debate on these particular things. Why? Because the people who have made these rules are so paranoid and so terrified that they've said that the entire debate and the entire discussion itself is illegal. Or maybe they haven't. It isn't clear even what they're saying when they say that pedophilia is illegal, and anything about pedophilia on our platform doesn't go to a jury. It goes right to our paranoid minds, and we ban you indefinitely. This is Garrett Smith. Thank you for watching.